All right, welcome back to the Board Drill Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Kyle, with my blurry camera, which will not autofocus on me, so it's super fun. With us is our co-host, Matt, as always. Today, our special guest is Coach Zach Capehart, who is the defensive coordinator at Silverdale Academy in Tennessee. Coach, welcome to the Board Drill.
I appreciate the opportunity.
As always, we have the giant audience here at Board Drill ready to go. So, Coach, season 3, episode 2, we're fired up to have you on. We're just fired up to be at season 3. Matt, never thought we'd get here. We talk about this all the time. We're like, didn't think we'd make it past like 5 episodes, but here we are, another Tennessee coach. We love our coaches in the Southeast. We love them everywhere, but we really love them in the Southeast. So, Coach, today we're going to talk about run fits. You know, I reached out to you. I said, hey, Coach, would you love to come on the podcast? Hey, you gave me 3 really good topics. So, you know, one day we're going to have to get you back, talk about the other 2, but today we're talking run fits. So, I know you can do a brief intro if you want to do anything, but I know you got a presentation. You go ahead and share that, and then we'll kind of get rolling on it. And as usual, we're going to let you present, and me and Matt will be the 2 idiots asking questions.
All right. Sounds good, man. Well, I just want to say I appreciate the opportunity. Y'all put out a great product. I've listened to it a ton. Got a lot of good ideas and stuff from it as I've listened to it. So y'all are doing good work, and it's appreciated by coaches. So, but yeah.
We love that.
Yeah. It's
no, I'm saying we appreciate it. We've gotten so many good coaches that have come on who don't even know us, right? We're reaching out to guys we've never met. All right, Coach, I've never met you. And I just reach out randomly on Twitter. I'm like, hey, Coach, do you want to come on the podcast? So it's been really humbling that these great coaches from around the country even want to get on with us, because it's me and Matt. We're not, I like us, but we're not super impressive, aren't we, Matt? We're just 2 ex-coaches hanging out.
All right. So y'all got me?
Yep. Yeah, all good.
All right. Just want to talk a little bit about fitting the run, specifically from multiple fronts. So I got a little bit of context for y'all, just to kind of give y'all a picture of who we are as a program, and some of the stuff we have to work through. So one, we're kind of a smaller program. Our school is a small private school. We're right over 400 kids in the whole school, or whole high school. So we end up having a lot of two-way players. I think this year we were just above 60. The biggest team we've had in recent history has been right around 71, 72 kids. Most years we're sitting right above 50. So you got a lot of two-way players. So sometimes being multiple front can be a little bit different because your time's limited with all those two-way players. Our head coach does a really good job with practice. So that 75-minute is just 75 to 90 minutes is about our norm for practice. If we have a 2-hour practice, that is not the norm for us. So time is very limited. We're kind of essentialists. So we really try to focus on like the basics, what's going to help us win games on Fridays, and cut out all the fluff. The other thing that makes coaching defense at Silverdale Baptist Academy a little bit different is how up-tempo our offense is. So if you've watched Tennessee, we are very similar to Tennessee. So you'll see us like the Bryles system, where you got guys outside of the numbers on both sides of the field. And if you ask our offensive coordinator, they're trying to get the ball off every 14 seconds.
Oh yeah.
So it means more snaps on defense. And the thing I've learned, when you're playing more snaps on defense, it gives the offense more time to figure you out. So it kind of, you have to find simple ways to have good answers, knowing, I think last year, I don't have the numbers from this past season, but 2024, I think we averaged like 11 series a game. And you're talking about, anywhere from 60 to 75, 80 defensive snaps in a game. And that's a lot for an offense.
Yeah.
So it makes it different. So when we were looking at how do we want to build our defense, things we want to focus on, we really looked at, well, what are ways to complement our offense and how they want to do things, because the normal things you look at, I don't think apply as much. So yards per game, while it's still important, I'm not sure it's the main thing. We really look at like points per possession. We look a lot at our havoc rate, which there's one quick slide on the havoc rate stuff, but we're big on havoc rate and how are we affecting the offense. For the sake of simplicity, I know we talked I mentioned maybe talking about Rip Liz, but we play a lot of middle of the field closed defense, a lot of Rip Liz style stuff. And mainly because if you want to be aggressive, I think it marries up well with some blitzes. It's easy to teach the coverage behind the blitz if you already start from a middle of the field closed system. And then the big point I want to talk about today is how are you teaching it? And the big thing for us is carryover. There has to be carryover between calls and techniques. So you're not, necessarily wanting to teach a brand new scheme every week, but you're wanting to say, all right, here's this technique. Here's where you're going to use it in your alignment. And then we can make adjustments, little adjustments that might seem big to the offense, but they are really pretty simple for us. And the last bit of context is the offenses we face. So in 2025, you'll see we saw 10 and 11 personnel, like your traditional spread stuff. We saw two teams that I would call like gun tee, like Kenny Simpson style gun tee offenses. 12 personnel Wildcat, which was, we were not expecting that one. They were an 11 personnel team, or maybe 20, and they come out and it's their best athletes at quarterback and they're 12 personnel empty the whole night. So it was like, well, throw that plan out the window. So we had to kind of adjust on the fly there. Some 21 personnel, and then we had a really good team this year that they were 11 and 21 personnel, but they also played some Maryland Eye stuff. So man, we saw everything. Like it was every week was a new challenge, which keeps it kind of fun, but also a little bit stressful at times. So this is really what I want to focus on today is our position groups, specifically in the box. So the one thing with like middle of the field close coverage, just to kind of give a framework for what we do in the box, you really have like more defined edges, right? You're going to have those force defenders. You're not relying on corners a whole lot. So because we keep the support structure very similar, it lets us kind of plug and play some things inside the box. That way we're not changing force defenders, too much or anything like that. So within the box, though, we have a couple primary things we teach. So I also serve as our linebackers coach. This year we were a big spill overlap team. We played a lot more odd front than we have in the past. Did a lot of spill and overlap with those guys, which had good carryover for a lot of our fronts. When we're 4 down or 4 down looks, which I'll get into that with some of the plugs, we like to lever, spill, lever. So when I talk to our guys about run fits, they'll either hear, hey, we're spill overlap out of this call. I wouldn't necessarily say lever, spill, lever. We really like to do that out of 4 down, and we like to do it a lot versus like 11 and 20 personnel. So it was a really easy thing to rep during like inside run and indie to get a bunch of reps at that. And then what we call plug fits, which is basically we're plugging one of those inside backers out of our odd front, and we're just getting to our lever, spill, lever run fits without saying that.
Yeah.
So basically you would have that one guy becoming essentially a 3 technique, and then the other guy's just a spiller, which he spills anyways when we do our spill and overlap. And then up front, we talk a lot about what we would call an inside technique. So this would be anytime we're playing a 4-eye or 2-eye, and a 6 technique, which I know is not necessarily an inside technique, but we kind of treat it that way when we're in 4 down. We get a lot of guys arcing 4 eyes. So we actually this year, when we ran our 4-eye stuff, we actually visually keyed the guard a lot, and that just let us really squeeze down, take the air out of that arc block, spill it, and then let the linebackers play downhill off of that. There was 2 or 3 teams, really good teams we played, that was their primary means of attacking 4 eyes was they would arc, and they would run counter to the arc. They would run power read to the arc. So
yeah,
we had to find some ways to teach those D ends to be able to squeeze and fit the way they need to and not chase that arc block, because you'd get gashed against some of these guys doing that. And then the 6 technique is the same way. So in our 6 technique, he will align head up, but he is going to read the offensive tackle and treat it very much the same way. If that tackle's to him, he would get vertical through the tight end. Tackles down, he's going to squeeze and take the C gap. If he gets those 2 divide, so imagine arc by the tight end, down block by the tackle, he's wanting to squeeze and spill off the tackle. The next technique we have up front is what we would call an Okie. So think like some people call it a heavy technique, or I've heard it called a splatter technique before, but basically all we're going to do is we're playing a really heavy 5 and we're closing B gaps with a 5 technique. And it's a very simple coaching point. We just say you closing the B gap with his body or your body, but it's got to be one of them. And there are times we would also use that in the 3 technique. This really helps the inside linebackers. We would bounce in between kind of the Okie technique and the inside technique with our 4 eyes, play 4 eyes and 5s a bunch. But with the linebackers, you could always say if they're doing right, no matter what, you're getting back to 4 eyes is essentially what we would tell the linebackers. So it made it pretty simple in terms of teaching for those guys. Last technique is our knockback and lag. We call it a knockback. We don't use the word lag, but that's essentially what it is. And we rep that a lot out of heads up alignment. So 0s, 2s, 4s. Didn't use that one quite as much. At 4 techniques, it was really more for our 0s and our 2s. So that's when we get to film, these are the things I want to focus on with you guys is what it looks like in game film, being able to bounce between all these different fits and techniques and what that looks like and how they can all be used within the same season, given that your teaching has carryover from call to call.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing is, hey, it's great that you have a bunch of different run fits. I know you're going to talk about this, but how are you able to use them fluidly, right? And your kids understand them because, if I sit there on the whiteboard and teach them 50 different run fits, that's great. But if they can't execute 49 of them, we're running one all night long.
Yep. Yeah. And there were times that happened. So that team I mentioned that went 12 personnel Wildcat, we were planning to be like odd front and play a bunch of spill overlap out of our odd front stuff the whole night. Well, they come out at 12 personnel Wildcat, and it was killing us the first series. So it was like, all right, we're going to play 4 down. We're going to lever, spill, lever. And just, got back to playing simple, just gap sound football and quit worrying about doing anything fancy. And it, once we got adjusted, it worked really well for us. And our guys were able to make that change, even though we hadn't practiced it all week.
Yeah.
And I think one thing that coaches often miss is we look at games like a week at a time. But I look at like cumulative reps over the season. So we might not have repped our lever, spill, lever stuff a lot that week, but we did the week before. We did weeks before when we were preparing for another opponent. So it's really easy to go back and say, hey, remember what we did last week, or we did the week before. Well, we repped, in camp, and they have that kind of recall back to previous training, and they can make that transition really quick. So you're not left scrambling, trying to figure out how to patch together a good game plan when the offense doesn't do something you expect. So I put up this havoc rate progression, and this really, I talked about how this is one of the most important metrics we look at. But I have this year highlighted. So in 2020 was when our head coach took over. Like I said, they started running the Tennessee really wide splits, and you'll see our TFLs, sacks, all just not good in terms of our overall defensive production these first 2 years. And I think a lot of that, like we had decent players, but our teaching progression and the things we were doing, there wasn't that carryover we were talking about. Well, in 2022, we started changing how we did things, and we're not a high pressure team. But you'll see we, nearly doubled our TFLs from one year to the next. And it wasn't because we just started pressuring more. It was the teaching progression, the carryover and techniques. And I think it just gave us an advantage versus offenses. So I'm more conservative in terms of my play calling. I'm a little bit of a wimp sometimes in terms of blitzing. I like to play base defense, read your keys, and get after people. But if you can have inexpensive ways to put pressure on an offense, I think you can get a really big positive effect and get yourself into some favorable third down situations. So this is a big part of who we are, and the way we teach things, I think has had a big impact on just our overall production on defense. So wanted to share that.
Yeah, Coach, I think part of that is it's not always blitzing, like you said. Sometimes it's just your general overall attitude. And I've tried to explain this to guys, and I don't know who gets it and who doesn't, but if our entire mindset is different, even if we're playing base, like, just it's aggressive all the time. We talk about it, we live it. We're kind of in that world. You play more aggressive. And it doesn't matter whether I'm calling a blitz or not.
Yep.
And I've never, I'm probably still not using the right words. I've never quite defined that and described that correctly to anyone, but there's just that feeling. I think you know exactly what I'm talking about. When you guys kind of you change that gear or you flip that switch and all of a sudden it's like, no, we're aggressive attacking defense. I don't care if we call it base. We're getting after it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's two things really. I think one, it comes down to if you're bogging kids' brains down with too much information, I think you're going to get the results you see up top, just not productive because they're thinking too much. But if they can just rely on simple teaching progressions and they can go get after people, you're going to get that. And I think the other thing is if you don't want to be aggressive in terms of your calls, you have to be pretty strategic in telling your guys, hey, this if you see this alignment, expect this. And then they can play for the TFL off of that. Like we've had some backfield tendencies where I wouldn't say we were necessarily going to blitz a linebacker, but it was like, hey, listen, this is a stretch look and you're the lever player. If that sniffer does not arc you fast enough, you know, run a rip across his face and go make the play. Like you don't have to wait for things like that. So when you're less concerned with teaching scheme, which scheme's really important, but you can teach details, they can play really fast if they know the details. So that's just one thing we've been really big on here lately. So wanted to share, we got some clips here. This is all from one season. I can pull up some different stuff from other seasons in the past. But when I say multiple front, so things you're going to see, you're going to see some 4 down, 1 high, middle of the field closed defense. You're going to see some 3 down, middle of the field closed defense. You're going to see some 3 down, 3 high stuff. You're going to see us play against some different looks with that gun tee kind of look. So I wanted to show y'all this is all one season. There's going to be good and bad, but just to show you can be multiple and play pretty solid defense for the most part. So this team you got right here, big check with me team. You'll see they're staring over the mass of coaches they have on the sideline. But they're a 10 personnel. Get to the end zone here.
Oh yeah, the drone view.
Yes, the blessed Tennessee drone view we get. It's awesome.
Coach, real quick, I learned this in the state of Florida the other night. I go to a playoff game. You're allowed to use drone during the year. It's banned during the playoffs.
Oh, that's man.
What is the freaking reason? Sorry, Coach, let's get back to you. I just wanted to say that out loud because I want everyone to hear how stupid
There's
that
some
was.
weird things about drones. So there's one opponent we've played in the past here in Chattanooga where you can't use drones because of the proximity to the airport.
Yeah, you got to get an FAA license.
It's crazy, man. I mean, there's some wild rules you got to work around with drones sometimes. But if you can do it, man, it's an
Coach, you need to get a coach certified as a Part 107 license, and then he can actually request to fly in that area the night of the game.
I might be mistaken, but I think we had a student get that.
Yeah.
I might be wrong. We had this girl who wanted to be part of the football program, and she, loves flying drones. And she traveled with us. She got all the gear, all that stuff. And she's a senior this year, so we're going to, have to try to find a way to replace her. But man, if you can find someone who will do that for you, it is the biggest advantage you can get.
Oh, 100%. Again, Matt, I would have killed for drone footage when I coached, but I'm glad to see it's done. So, all right, Coach, let's get back to it. I didn't mean to interrupt there.
No, that's all good. All good. So things you're going to see in this clip. So we're going to plug. So the things we saw with all the odd front, these are going to be 2 Okie techniques we have at the end, and we're plugging our will here. They end up basically like a tackle wrap situation. But what we end up telling these guys when we're playing Okie technique, both the ends are reading the tackle, right? So that tackle turns to me. I want to cross his face and close the B gap, right? So you'll see this play side 5 technique. As soon as he gets fanned out, he's going to cross face, close the B, and it lets our mic scrape and go be that lever player. And then the will ends up reading this late. This was a first-year starter for us, so you're going to see him a few times make a couple boneheaded plays, but he played hard. But he ends up working into the play. So he's taught, again, we're plugging, I say plug the B, we really plug the guard, right? So he should be thinking when he sees this guard step out, he's wanting to cross into the A gap and just like face blitz the guard. And then this backside 5 technique should really be thinking crossover as well. So what we should end up getting is this guy. He gets there late, but he's going to cross over the top. You should get him crossing over with the pull. You should get closing the B gap, and then your Mike scrapes to be unblocked, which is what we end up getting here. So that's just a simple plug we like to run, especially if they have a good beat on where they're trying to run the football or who they're trying to pull. You'll see that here. If we got an idea who you're trying to pull, we'll plug the puller if we can. But it ends up getting to our even front fits from odd front structure. So it's been really good for us. All right, this is just going to be some lever, spill, lever. Okay, so again, we're playing Okie 5 techniques. Both these guys are keying through their guards. Check with me. Makes film watching great when it feels like they got a minute for every play. All right, so we end up actually putting him in a 4 just to try and get the ball out a little bit quicker. So what we should see, this backside DN doesn't do a good job here, but he should be closing down these pullers and working to cross face. You'll see the Mike fits tight off the down block. We always tell them just chase the hip of the 4-eye. When that 4-eye's down, we want to replace his heels where he was, spill. You get the backside will. Trying to overlap nice and square. And then our bandit backer is going to really be your new lever player out there, is what we end up getting to. So that's just a easy picture of what it looks like for us, spill and overlap. Got another look. This is going to be spill and overlap. So this is going to be out of our 4 eyes, right? So if we know that you're not really going to pull tackles, I mentioned we read the guard. Visually, we will still read the guard, but we kind of had an idea these guys weren't going to arc their tackles a bunch, so we were a little bit heavier on them at times, just so we're not getting washed down too much, right? You got your spiller here. End up getting an overlap from the Mike, and we had our weak side outside linebacker losing leverage here, but you get the picture of him trying to go set an edge and then let the pursuit do the rest. What I like about spill overlap and why it's been good for us is just denying the ball vertically. Even when you get guys, even really good athletes that we have to face, when you get them running sideways like this and you can let your pursuit take care of the rest, even if you're wrong, that overlap guy can make you right if he's taught right. So we basically tell him just get to daylight. And then if it's past that open window, if it gets past right here, now you can turn and run. It just becomes a
foot race.
Yeah.
Coach, I was a big spill overlap guy. And my big thing was anytime we tried to, box or turn it back in with the interior guys, sometimes that other linebacker, because there's so much traffic, would just overrun it. And then, if it ends up hitting backside, it's a one-on-one with your safety and hold your breath. So
yes,
we were a big spill overlap team because we were exactly like you said, we're fine running the sideline with you. We just don't want you to get vertical, because once you get vertical, there's a shot you can bang your head on the goalpost and score 6.
Yep.
You can't do that if you're running the sideline.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. As long as they're lateral, we feel good about it. But yeah, it's been really good for us. I haven't liked it as much out of 4 down, to be honest. I've messed around with it at times.
Here's the irony, Coach. We were always 4 down and we loved it. But again, it's to each his own, how you want to teach it. But we were a 4 down, 4-2-5 team. So, our nickel and our free safety were always our best players.
Yeah.
Everybody else inside would make it bounce to those 2 guys, and we let those guys run and tackle. And that was kind of the key to how we did it. But, we didn't do as much odd stuff. So that was the world we lived in 24/7. So again, we got really good at it because that's what we did, Coach.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. All right. Now I mentioned plugging to the back. So right here, they would get in this 2-back set. But it's early scrimmage, but with as much true, like 20 personnel split back they would do, we always knew that one of these guys was like more or less a sniffer. And they liked running to the side of the sniffer a lot. So what we tried to do was basically get this guy plugging to the side of the back or away from the sniffer is really what we would say. So right here, you're going to see we end up timing this up. They run like a little GT play. we're in an Okie look here. So you're going to end up getting, he ends up chasing flat on the pullers.
Yep.
Now I'd like to see him finish lower and roll here. But this is scrimmage number 1. So we're a little green with this team this year. Right, but you can see how you basically get to your 4-down run fits out of this. Right, the nose is stepping away from the plug. So we basically make him the new 2-eye. And then we always communicate with the D end we're plugging to, making sure he knows he's a quarterback player if they come to him. But you'll see you basically have now your 3 technique, your 5 technique, you got a squeezing 5 technique, and then this would be your lever player, and this is your new spiller. Yeah. Right? So we're just getting to those lever, spill, lever run fits with our plug. So it's been really good because, an offense is they see this look and they're thinking certain blocks are going to have to happen on gap scheme. But then you can change the picture and it's an even front out of an odd look. And sometimes it can throw the offense for a loop and you get those cheap TFLs just by sending a guy.
Yeah. I mean, you confuse the center here, right?
Yeah.
He ends up trying to double on the nose and really he needs to be pressing backside to that backer. And, anytime I'm a big fan of picking on the center, Coach. It's my favorite guy to pick on. Matt's laughing, but Matt, I love you, but you put your worst player at center a lot. The smart guy who wasn't as good.
Yeah. Sometimes we did that. The center has to know that they're double teaming to that backside linebacker.
Yes.
And just keep it as not having his eyes there. It creates that run through there. So.
Yeah, and I'll say this: the other thing that I've learned, just coaching a little bit more odd front, is the amount of guys that won't back block the center. Like if you're running GT right here, this guy is our best player by far. He's really good, but a lot of teams just would not block back to take him out of the play. So we would game plan to get him basically run throughs is the way we looked at it. If you're not going to back block him and you're going to pull, we're going to chase and just try to get TFLs with him. I'll show you a clip here in a minute where he's just running unabated, and we would just replace him with the backer. But we see so few teams that actually try to back block that guy. And if you're going to do it, turn him loose and let him go. And that's you don't have to blitz anybody.
Yeah.
To go get a TFL off that. So.
Do you ever mesh charge him, Coach?
Yes. Actually, you're going to see.
Love that.
Yeah. So I'll show you a clip. I think this. Yeah. So this team right here, this is a really good team. Actually, right down the street from us, Tyner Academy. So y'all know Tyler. I think his last name's Maines. Yeah. So this is the school he coaches at. We lost to them 28-27. It was a first game of the year. So we did some mesh charging this game just because we always the quarterback's a stud.
Yeah.
That they have can run. He ended up running all over us. Scramble drill though. So, but yeah, we did some mesh charging here. You'll see kind of a look at it. So, this is actually us in a bit of our 3-high stuff. We played a good bit of that depending on the opponent this year. But we play 3-high, and when we play 3-high, we like to. We actually called corner blitz quite a bit this game. But what we were trying to do here is they would run like power read and like almost like a bash look, really. And we just told our DN, hey, run right at the quarterback. Even if you're wrong, we don't want him to have the ball in his hands. So make him make a fast decision. Let me get to the drone.
It'll freak him out sometimes.
It will.
He really will.
I didn't put the clip in here, but there's one play where he does it. And the quarterback's a little bit unsure with the read, and he actually swats the ball out of his hand, and we get a turnover. Yeah, it was it was a good play. Yeah, so right here, you're going to see now we're showing this corner blitz really early, but we had an indicator for the week. So you'll see him kind of scan. So the corner's kind of holding alignment, and as soon as he gets this scan from the quarterback and hands go up, we knew we were going to start bringing it. Right, so you get your mesh charge, and like I told y'all, if we know they're not going to block back the center, we actually tell the linebacker these two switch roles. So normally, if you're going to block back the center, we're going to let him stay back and let the linebacker climb with the or overlap with the pulls.
Yeah.
If you're not going to, we're going to let the DN chase for the TFL and let the linebacker replace. So that's what we're doing here. We got the corner blitz on, and once he reads that the quarterback's pulled it, so he's thinking depth of the quarterback. I'd like to see him square, but high school kids are going to high school kids sometimes. But yeah, we end up getting a pretty good TFL right here. And again, this is just game planning and the teaching progression, right? So this guy knows when he can mesh charge and when he can't. This guy knows that if he's mesh charging, he now can replace him over the top here. And that's what we end up getting to. And then, like I said, we're in more of our 3 high stuff here. So our bandit's way out of the box. Our safety ends up running the alley off of the block of number 3. So end up getting a pretty good hit on him too here, which is always good for you.
And if you're listening real quick, we actually don't play any of these out. So the fact that I asked about a mesh charge and we get it on the next play was the most lucky thing we've ever had on this podcast.
Yeah, man. We don't get many opportunities to run it, to be honest. I mean, I think we saw
Correct.
2 teams we could mesh charge. So it's kind of, that's good coincidence. All right. So this team right here, this team was a tricky game plan for us. So we had a couple things we liked. So they would do a couple different things. They had a traditional quarterback they would put in. This guy right here is actually the guy they have at quarterback. So this is a wildcat look. This guy is going to Clemson to play corner or nickel. I mean, he's a stud. He's incredible. So what we would do is we would have personnel and checks based off of this. So when this guy was in, we would bring in a bigger outside linebacker and play some of our rip list style stuff, but let him almost play like a 4-down front, but with 4 eyes. And they would bring in these two sniffers, and we're basically just telling this guy almost like a wing buster technique is what we were working. What we do versus some that gun T stuff, which I'll show you here in a minute. So anyway, right, we're playing true 4 eyes right here, and you'll see these guys once they get the tackle to him, or guard to him, guard away. We're wanting these guys to really close everything down. And this is the picture we're looking for. That's the one benefit. There's drawbacks to reading the tackle. There's drawbacks to reading the guard with your 4 eyes. I think the one thing with reading the guards and really playing tight to that guard off of his down block sometimes is just, we talked about denying vertical entry for the back.
Yeah.
That was the big thing for us. It kept our linebackers cleaner because we rarely saw that tackles would just get off of the down block of that guy. And we would maybe get washed sometimes, but we get a linebacker untouched.
Which, by the way, is the whole point of playing a 4-eye.
Yes.
Is to not have vertical. Yeah. It's to close the B gap. So
yeah, close the B gaps. And really you get both the A's closed with the way this ends up fitting up. Right. This guy is actually now working off of, should be working off of one of the sniffers. He's a little bit wrong right here. Right. But this backside 4-eye is working off the down block of this tackle. He ends up getting a really good ball player to make a really hard cut. And this guy is leaps and bounds faster than anybody we have. But when you have making a hard cut here, unblocked defender, all because you've taken away a bunch of space inside, It gives what I would say lesser athletes an opportunity to make a play on a really good football player. So doing stuff like that's really easy to teach. So you've seen a lot of 4-eye, a lot of 5 technique. But we're really teaching the same thing over and over again, just from different alignments. All right, so you're going to get kind of the same thing here. So now they only have 1 sniffer in, so we taught this guy to be like your true lever player now. So he's no longer trying to spill anything. He's really trying to go set an edge. Now the way this plays out, we do some like indicator fit stuff where we're working off of the sniffer quite a bit. We depending on the opponent, but their gaps are moving with him. We've got everything clogged up in here. We get the mic running to an open C gap. Now I'd like for him to be a little bit wider here and not try to run into contact, because he turns what could be, this is a 1-yard TFL to me, and he ends up making it a 3-yard gain. But yeah, end up making a good tackle in space. All right, so now here's some of the fun stuff. So what y'all have seen, that's a lot of our we've went through 3-high, Oki technique, 4-eye technique, and that stuff is really easy against spread and 11 personnel, 20 personnel looks. When you start getting your 12 personnel or 21, I think this is where the teaching of this stuff really shines. So this team right here is South Pittsburgh. They're probably going to be playing for a state championship. They're a 1A football team, but I think like 80% of their school plays football. So they end up getting like 50, 60 kids at a school that has maybe 400, 500 kids in the whole school, which in Tennessee public school, that's big time.
Yeah.
So what we end up getting here is they like to run variations of buck sweep away from the back. So what we were trying to do was we said, all right, this week we're going to try as much as we can to set the front away from the back. So we want the nose in a shade away from the back. We want a 5 technique away from the back, and we want a backside 4-eye. So I talked about if you won't block back the 4-eye, we're going to try and get him to chase as much as we can. And then we wanted to be a heavy 5 technique. That way, sometimes they would run like counter and stuff back away from it, and he would cross face and close the B gap back away from it. So you'll see they're going to try and scoop him with the tackle. He ends up getting flat down the line here, right? You get the 4-eye pursuing backside. You get the nose working off a cut. You got the double of the 5. And now you should get a lever player. This guy's actually going to end up spilling the first puller, spilling the second puller, and we should have enough hats. So you end up getting a 1-yard gain.
Matt, what I see is a beautiful underfront here is what in theory, this is a beautiful underfront for me.
Underfronts create problems for buck sweep, right?
Correct.
Having that shade nose was a nightmare when they'd come out in a shade nose and we're running buck sweep. I don't have faith in my center to be able to snap and make that cut or reach them.
Yep. Yeah, it was hard. And like our whole game plan, without telling the kids this, so using our language was we're basically playing undercover 1.
Yeah.
Is like what we got to for most of this game because we felt like this kid was like a Mr. Football candidate in Tennessee. And we wanted the quarterback to try and beat us. So we were like, stop buck sweep, stop power, get the quarterback to throw the ball. And we felt like we had good matchups on the perimeter for the most part. So, yeah, you end up getting undercover 1. You got a really good picture of it. This is another opponent. Same thing. So this is undercover 1. We go corners over a bunch when we start getting formations like this, and we'll travel with them and do all that. But you got a wing buster over here. We're actually short a player on this play, but we had a sub issue right here. But we were big on trying to get him to knife in between, and versus buck sweep, we're always telling these guys, we want to make buck sweep either hit in like the A gap or turn it into jet sweep. That's the 2 things we're trying to do. But you'll see, again, we got the backside 4-eye. They're going to try and scoop him with the tackle. He's going to get flat and really close down all this. This is actually in a buck sweep play. They're running like a little, almost like counter back to it or 1-back power with a tight end wing. But you get your spill and overlap. So not a bad fit. They got another clip of
stuffs it with 10 players, Matt. Things that have never happened for me.
Oh, I know. We were so I was hot on the sidelines after
Coach,
that.
Coach, if I'm coaching and we have 10 players, the ball is inevitably going exactly where that 11th player isn't.
Oh,
and somehow the ball's just going to magically get over there.
Yeah. I think the other thing that was important was we would travel. So against buck sweep teams. So like I said, we want to try and get variations of underfront to this. But we had a guy we wanted to be the wing buster, the guy we wanted knifing in. So we would actually travel him. We would flip our backers to try and get them doing the same job over and over and over again, as much as we could. So you'll see he knifes in. And I know a lot of guys are big on, like, ideally, this guy is one of our better defenders, and we don't want to lose him in his ability to make a tackle. But if we are going to lose him, we want him to take 2 with him. So that was a big game plan point, was like, if they're going to block you, take 2 with you, and you end up getting 1-on-1 in the alley. But like you'll see here again, you got an Okie 5 technique. Now we're playing a 0 nose, and he's going to be playing like a knockback technique. And you got another Okie 5 technique. And they're just trying to squeeze everything down, let these linebackers scrape and climb over clean. You get a cheap TFL. Again, no pressures, but this just goes back to, I think, teaching tendencies, simple techniques that have big carryover from opponent to opponent.
Coach, on that knockback technique, you're teaching it the way I would teach lag, what we call it?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. It's like, I love the idea of teaching lag, but every time I've heard someone explain lag technique to me, I was like, it sounds like I need to just get into the center and then basically let him take me where he wants to go, essentially. Like
that's how we talk. Again, I'm like you. I was a DC, I was a linebackers DBs guy, so I always appreciate hiring a really good D-line coach, but the way we kind of taught it was similar to that. Obviously, there would be some finer things with the hands and the feet, but it's for all intents and purposes, it's try to whip the center's butt and then just lag behind him, let him take you where he's going.
Yeah. And we would, a lot of what we would say was knock back and work to the double team, right? Yeah. Like we want your head to the side of the double team as often as we can.
Correct.
But without getting too complicated. Yeah, that was all we did. All right, so again, this is that same opponent. This is a better look at buck sweep, I believe, right? But you get, again, knifing. This was something we were trying to, again, this guy's a really good player, so we had him basically able to see both, and we told him if it was buck sweep and you felt that guard go behind your tackle, we wanted you to work into the tight end, right? So we're trying to really press into the tight end, keep him from climbing, and let these linebackers go run free. But yeah, again, trying to find cheap ways to get no gains and TFLs. Simple techniques. All right, now this is going to be another one of those teams that love to arc, right? I don't think you're going to get an arc on this one, but playing a lot of heavy 4 eyes. Both these guys are going to be keying the guards. And this is kind of like our odd front. So this week, it kind of plays out that, instead of rolling and basically letting, when you get jet motion, instead of bringing him back and taking him down, we traveled a bunch this year. Our guy that was like our star nickel type player didn't really feel comfortable playing in the middle of the field. So we would travel him and essentially get to like it played out, would look like cover one most of the time. But it really just let us keep our box intact and let a guy who liked playing in the middle of the field play in the middle of the field. All right, but right here, this guy, so the game plan this week, when they got 4 eyes, this team, they would not pull the right tackle, they would pull the left tackle in gap scheme. So we were telling this guy to try and close down B gap as much as you can, but if you had this tackle, you were expecting arc, or you were expecting pull, or you're expecting a heavy down block from him. So if you were aligned from 64, we were teaching to be heavier on the tackle this week, which our 54 does a really good job playing some good technique at 4 eye right here. So he steps in towards the guard, gets hands on the tackle, keeps his hat inside, sheds him, and makes a really good TFL here against a really good O lineman. But the other thing you should see is you got a good lag technique right here. He's really working through the center and stays into that double team, so you get a free wheel climbing. You don't really have anyone for the mic right now, right? You end up getting a bunch of hats to around the ball of a really good football team here. This team's actually playing for a state championship. This was our second round opponent, and they ended up putting us out, but they're a very good football team. Got a bunch of really good athletes and very well coached. All right, so now this is that same game. We're playing 4 down now. So we're not going to be traveling with motion. Just going to be bumping and adjusting. Right, so what you end up getting here is just because of we're playing like a 2 technique here. So he's playing more that knockback style. just to try and keep 64 from climbing is really what we were trying to do. And we felt like the matchup against the guards was a big plus for us. The other thing we're big on, and you can see our nose actually trying to do this right here, is cross and face. So I didn't put any clips of this in there, but when our 4 eyes will get the tackle pull, we teach them if the tackle pulled and you're playing a 4 eye, you get the block back of the guard, your goal should be to cross face.
Yeah.
So with that being said, the same technique is true of the 2 eye. So we teach them if he pulls, you get the back block of the center, we want you to cross face. That's your goal. It's the same as playing a 4 eye. You're just a gap inside. So you'll see him needs to get extension a little faster, but he's working to go cross face as much as he can. That guy that was just setting an edge is now a spiller. So you're getting more lever, spill, lever, run fits out of this, all within the same game. And getting our Will, who's your spill player, climbing over the top, scraping the daylight.
Love it. I also love the multiple drones in that view too, Coach.
Oh, I know. Listen, sometimes it's comical at times, the amount of stuff you'll see flying around at a Tennessee high school football game. All right, so this is that Boyd Buchanan school. Again, this is a really good football team, ran the ball really well. We played a lot of 4 down against these guys. One of the things we like to do at a 4 down is run torch stunts. Yep. So to me, this is the easiest stunt to teach because you're just telling guys to look at the center.
It's great against zone heavy teams.
Listen, zone, and I really like it versus gap scheme. What I basically teach our guys versus gap scheme is what you end up getting. They can't block. They have trouble blocking both the D lineman who's crossing face and the linebacker climbing over the top.
Yeah.
And I really like it versus quarterback run heavy teams because you end up stealing a guy to where they're trying to run the football. And it's been really good versus option teams that run like a lot of power read or GT, stuff like that. It's been really good for us. All right, but you'll see you got 2 squeeze and 5 techniques. Both these guys lined up in 2s, reading the center. And this is, again, when we're teaching this, the guy who's closing the A gap, we teach it the same way we teach a 4 eye, right? If this was like your guard in a 4 eye and he steps down and away from you, well, we're going to close it and cut off the play.
Yeah.
The exact same we would teach the 4 eye in an odd front, teaching the same thing, and he ends up setting himself up for a TFL here. But there's carryover in teaching. This didn't take any time for us to do, executed it pretty well here. It ended up being a good TFL that's cheap. You're not blitzing somebody, and it's hard for an offense to pick up. So,
Coach, I talk about this all the time, but the guy who I'm going to make it really simplified here. The guy who sets the pick and stunts, I swear makes the TFL much, if not more, than the guy who's always looping.
Yes.
Because it's like they pin a guy and then people forget about him and then he just gets vertical and everyone lets go of him. It happens so much. The
number of times we have, right here, they don't do it here, but this is what we often see, is this guy often lets go of this guard when he sees this guy cross face.
Yep.
And it's like, I got to go pick that guy up. So that's why we're like, to me, even versus gap scheme, it's great.
Yeah.
Just because you get closing off the A gap, he's scraping over the top, and you got a backer who's fitting. And it's just, they run out of guys.
Yeah.
If you're an O-line guy, listen to this. I'll retweet it. I saw a really good drill that North Dakota State does with their O-linemen to combat stuff like this.
Yeah.
It was a great drill of them coming together and bumping shoulders and ricocheting off each other. And I was like, oh, that's an interesting technique to do. But if you ever see them on film, they're very good at picking up studs. I mean, very, very good.
Yes. Yeah, man. Yeah. And it takes a lot of work. And the teams that put in the work to do it and can neutralize it, good for them. I hope there's not many of them.
Then you just bring 6.
Yeah. Pressure the fool out of them. See if they can pick that up. All right. So this is more of our 4-down stuff. So like I told you, when we install our 4-down stuff, the teaching is really easy. So the 5 technique to the closed B gap is easy. He's just a squeeze and spill guy. He's a quarterback player. we teach the 3 technique, very similar to the 4-eye. The 2-eye is very similar to a 4-eye. And then when we install, we just tell the 5 technique to the open B gap, hey, if you're the weak side 5 technique, you're an Okie end. It's the same exact thing to you. So in the teaching, it's if this guy blocks out, you can cross face. If he's down, squeeze and spill. The exact same when we install some of our Okie stuff. So what you'll see here is he gets that out block. He's going to get hands on him. He's going to cross face and make the ball. He's either going to cut and get lateral, right, and try to get to the sideline here, or he's got to bend it back inside where we should have more pursuit. End up getting a 3-yard gain there, but do a good job of cutting the ball off with a simple technique that we taught. That's a week 1 thing we taught, and we were able to get that done pretty quick.
Go back, Coach.
Yeah.
So you just to simplify the run fits here and talk about, you're in cover 2 here, correct? At least on the backside.
Yep.
So the corner is going to be your ultimate edge, obviously, right?
Yes.
If it bounces.
Yeah, he would be, but also like down and distance wise. So
correct.
We were third and forever here. I was expecting pass, but I wanted to play. They had where is he? Number 6 right here. This kid right here could play. So we were playing like a almost 2-man, like the Saban stuff. I think like cut and clip and all that. Like it's very similar to some of that. But we were just telling our corners here, like, hey, we got 29 yards to play with here. Just don't let anything over your head at the same time. But he would be when he goes
late. Regardless, it's a late fit. So it's just
it's gonna be late.
Yeah, because that's always a big piece of playing heavy. We did it quite a bit too.
Yep.
We did a really good job of just switching up between that corner and that safety who's the edge fit. And I think a lot of times against read teams, if the running back was into the boundary, we would play with who the quarterback guy was and just have the quarterback upset. Because one time it's the corner, the next time it's the safety, and he's like, I don't know who to read.
Yep.
So they just kind of, sometimes you can get teams off of that just by the threat of being multiple in the run fits like you're talking about hey, we don't necessarily have to even beat this play too many times. If we do it a couple times really creative, they may just never go back to it.
Yeah, and we saw a bunch of that. Like we would, especially if people are trying to tag us into the boundary and they're getting a corner coming up and fitting, and then the next time it's your weak safety.
Yep.
Then you got the end sitting on. I mean, like they just went away from it, and it got them going away from the boundary a bit sometimes. But the other thing we will do is give these guys a lot of autonomy to say who is your force defender here, based on field position, down and distance, things like that. We would give them quite a bit of freedom to say, make a sky or cloud call basically, and change it up a little bit.
Yeah, that free safety, that weak safety was my guy. He was going to an Ivy League school.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. I mean, he's 6'2", 205-pound free, so I used to tell him all the time, like, you're smart, you're going to an Ivy League school. Here's your 4 options this week. Communicate it and go.
Yeah.
And which he loved because then he had super buy into that week because he was making all the weak side calls. But at the same time, it's just like you said. I was like, people tell me all the time, like, I don't know who's fitting where right now. I got to figure out what the call was. I was like, they made the call. But it works out well because they'll switch it up enough where it becomes kind of an enigma back there.
Yeah, and the other thing I'll say, the kind of to your point, coaches often say that they, kids struggle learning some things, but I think sometimes we just don't create enough buy-in with how we teach it, right? Like, is the expectation that they should be able to do this stuff, or are you spoon-feeding them everything? If you're expecting them to make the calls, they'll do the work.
Yeah.
To get in the right situation. Now, they might mess up early in the season, but if you're not going to blow a gasket every time they mess up and you'll teach them football, they'll learn how to do it, and they'll do it better than you calling it from the sideline late.
Coach, I'm a big believer in anyone's coaching me can tell you this. We call one play on defense, and I was the same thing. I was with the super hurry up offense, so I call it really quick, like literally after the tackle's made, and then it's up to them to make the checks after that. I was looking at them and said, "It's your game."
Yeah.
And people always looked at me like I'm like anti-Venables. Not that I don't like Venables, but he wastes the last second.
Oh yeah,
Coach, I make the call and I go about and I'm looking at my sheet for the next call.
Yeah,
and I tell them all the time, look, kids got to make the checks. It's their buy-in. It's their team. They don't let me play anymore. So
yeah, man, they'll work so much harder. Like if that's your expectation that they need to be able to do these things, they will rise to your expectations that you set for sure.
Yeah, and those kids study film more. They care more because it's their call. I'm not the main character anymore, and I couldn't explain that anymore to a player. Like, it's not about me, guys. Go do it.
Yeah, 100%. All right, so right here, these are going to be the last few. I think I got probably 4 clips left, 4 or 5. But these are going to be a lot of 4 down. So I talked a lot about crossing face. I think this is one of the things we do pretty well over here is crossing face with pullers. So this is a team that like to run a lot of pin and pull, right? So you should see 3 guys on this clip all cross face at roughly the same time, right? So when we talked about the teaching, right, this is first round of the playoffs. So again, we're reading our keys. As soon as we start seeing pulls, what we want is guys crossing face and getting the numbers right, right? So
boy, that nose is smooth there.
yeah, he's a Division I
This
athlete.
is a smooth.
he is. So he's got offers from like Duke and Wake Forest. I mean, he's 6'7", he's 260. He's a really good left tackle, but he's also a really good defensive lineman for us. So yeah, he's smooth for as tall as he is. But yeah, you'll see all 3 of those guys kind of crossing face at the same time. But this is a day one teaching. You know, even though we start out at odd, the carryover is what's important. So when you're getting the pulls, this is the same to him as him reading the tackle, pulling on like dart. This 3 technique is the same thing as if he was getting pin and pull out of odd front. And then this 6 technique is just, he's reading the tackle, right? And that tackle's down. He sees color flash across. And the way I end up teaching this is, we all talk about gaps. You got A, B, and C gap, D gap. They're trying to get back to those gaps. That's
Correct.
all I end up saying to those guys. Like, and we walk through it during inside the first time. I'll pull a guard and be like, all right, what gap is gone? Well, it's the A or B gap. Okay, well, we got to get back to where that gap was. Or when you're teaching a 4-eye, that tackle pulls. All right, well, the B gap's gone. You're now in the C gap. So you got to get your butt back where it needs to be, back in the B gap to get our fits right.
I love that, Coach. I've never thought about, I mean, I get the idea of they're adding gaps, but I never thought about talking to a kid that way. I love that.
Yeah, it's been like you can see it clicked like, oh, that's why I got to cross face.
Yeah.
Because what kills us is we get a kid as a freshman, and as soon as he sees his guard pull, what do they all do? Run.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, just open the door for him. like invite him on in, send him right down the dang hash for a touchdown on that one, bud. Because you got a linebacker scraping fast over the top. You got to close it off. But when you talk about it in gaps, they start kind of connecting dots. And that, to me, that's the art of coaching, is like, can you get the dots to connect? And they'll play so fast whenever they finally understand it.
Yeah, Coach, it's teaching. I mean, we know that. We dress it up and we use all this shit, but like at the end of the day, can you teach core concepts to kids? And look, I've taught super complex things, and then I've had other teams where I thought they were a lot smarter, and we never got past, like you said, we never got past 4-down rip lists. Here we go play rip lists.
Yeah, but hey, listen, if you're going to run something, 4-down rip list is a good starting point.
That's true.
Right, you're going to get a similar look right here. We're actually setting the front to the Twins on this one, but again, same teaching, right? You got your Okie 5 technique. He does a really good job here. As soon as he sees his tackle down, he's thinking, take the air out of it. He didn't necessarily hit the puller, but he took the puller with him, right? So high school football players are going to be a high school football player. He's going to chase this guy instead of continuing to work. And then you just get a linebacker who can run, nobody there for him if they're going to chase like that. So simple teaching stuff, nothing crazy. Got another.
No, but Coach, I think the fluidity, I guess is the best way to say it, of how you guys get in and out of even and odd fits is really impressive for a small school.
Yeah.
I mean, we talk with a lot of small school coaches. I've been a small school head coach, probably smaller than you guys, but it's frustrating, right? Because you have all these things that you want to install in your defense, and then you have to cut it down, then you have to figure out a way to teach it, and maybe cut down on the language and how it's done and all these things. And I think the amount of stuff that I've seen you get in and out of here is pretty impressive as far as run fits.
Yeah.
And it speaks to, like you said, simplifying and teaching about maybe, hey, it's the same technique with a different presentation, right?
Yeah. Yeah. As much as, I heard, I don't even, the first time I ever heard it, but the whole same as teaching. The more stuff you can make same as, the better.
Yeah.
I think when it comes to blitz techniques, like, I talked about in our plugs, we talk about blitzing the guard. When we're blitzing off the edge, we teach the same thing with the tackle, right? Like it's just, or if we're running like your Build-A-Bear pressures where you're just sending a Mike or a Will at the center, that's all the same. you're saying it's the same technique. You're just doing it on a different person now.
Correct.
And it lets them play really fast. Because like, oh, it's just a different guy. I'm doing the same thing to a different guy. And then when you rep it in Indy, you don't have to say, hey, this is us, how we blitz a center, how we blitz a guard, how we blitz whoever. It's, hey, this is how you run a face blitz. And now we just move, like, who are we running that technique against?
Yeah.
Can change, and it makes it really easy for the guys. Right here, you're going to get the nose doesn't do a great job. I would like to see, this is hard. You don't see this very often, but they're pulling the center. So ideally, we would actually see this guy climb back because we talked about making the gaps right. But he doesn't do right, but you end up getting the 3 technique away, cross and face. So he collisions, he sees that tackle pull, and he's like, all right. And you end up getting like a torch stunt without running torch. So.
And it's weird. Sometimes the really low or the really late guys that cross face really late, sometimes they're not as you're as explosive guys. Those guys end up making a lot of tackles for loss. I had like a 310-pound nose one year who's a freshman, 310 pounds. He didn't move well. He plugged well. But he would make a bunch of tackles on like this super late crossing of the face. I mean, at the last minute. And I'm like, I'll never get how he does that. But he ended up getting so many more tackles for loss than other guys. And they're like, Coach, I'm doing everything right. He's late. And then he's still making the play. I'm like, it works out that way sometimes.
That's this 54 for us. So he was, really good player, crossed face a bunch. And I think this year he had like 22 TFLs. And that's like on very limited sacks.
Yeah.
I think he might have had like 2 sacks on the season. We had 22 TFLs. And a lot of it was, man, he just crossed face at the right time. He'd get knocked back, find the flow of the ball, cross face, and he was there.
Sometimes it almost times up better because the running back doesn't get the chance to make a cut on you.
Yeah.
It's really late. You kind of surprise the running back or the quarterback or whoever. When it's early, they get a couple steps to you. So,
yeah. All right. These are the last couple clips here. It's a couple left, but this is that 12 personnel Wildcat we talked about. So the whole week we had practiced our 4-eye. We had not practiced one bit of 4 down this whole week. And they come out in this, and we were running 3 down, 3 high. We were trying to get our safety to be really aggressive in the run with how much they were running the football because they didn't have the best quarterback in the world. And they come out in this, and it's like, well, I do not like all the adjustments we had to make to 12 personnel out of our 3 high stuff. So we were like, all right, it's 4 down, it's rip Liz, go play football was what we ended up getting to. But you'll see, again, you got your 6 techniques, right? This tackle is to this 6 technique. So he's thinking, I'm through the tight end now. I should be closing the B. And we're actually playing 2 twos right here. What we were trying to get with, they basically took their best athletes, put them at quarterback, and they ran a bunch of stretch and GT with them. So what we were trying to do was to get 3 techniques where they're running the football. So we played 2 twos and basically played like double lag out of it. And tried to eat up double teams and let the backers climb and play our lever stuff really simple. And we made that's an in-game adjustment. We did not practice that this week. But again, it goes back to cumulative teaching. Like, did you put the reps in enough for them to be able to make those quick adjustments going into a Friday? And then they would hop into this, some single wing looking stuff. So yeah. I mean, it was wild. But this is like my favorite clip of the year. This kid, 54, is like a man child, but he's playing 6 technique, going through the tight end, getting great extension, and ended up getting a cheap TFL or no gain, right? But you'll see, again, all that same teaching, guys. It's the same stuff over and over and over again. You end up getting back to your lever run fits. Right. But I hope you guys have seen, like, it's a lot of different looks, but the number of times I've been able to say, it's the same as this. It's the same as this. It's all kind of on repeat. But yeah, that's what I got for y'all today. I wanted to throw up in case y'all needed like contact or anything like that. I got that there for y'all. But yeah, really appreciate the opportunity, guys. It's been it's been a lot of
awesome.
fun.
Coach, I can talk run fits till the cows come home.
Yeah.
But On every podcast. Well, hold on, Matt. I know you always have. I know you've been taking notes.
Dude,
Yeah.
I've been drawing, and I'm like, I don't even know where I would start attacking. So that last clip I saw was like, this team wasn't sure either where they would attack and exactly what's going on. So, you just it seems like you guys just have an answer for everything, right? And that's tough as an offensive coordinator to come up with something that's you can rely on during a game. So hats off to you, Coach. I mean, it looks like your kids are understanding what you're doing, because anybody could try to install this, but you got to teach it the right way. So
Correct.
You're obviously teaching it the right way, and your players are understanding it. They're getting in the right spots, and they're executing your design.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And let me say this, this is year 10 for me. I became a coordinator really young. So I think I was 25 maybe. So I played college ball, got done, coached 2 years as a position coach. And then it was, hey, you're the coordinator now. And the number of mistakes I made trying to, do the hey, they're running this week. I think we need to be in this. And our kids would just be lost. So it was a lot of me just banging my head against the wall. Well, what's the best way to do this? Not every defense is best versus every single offense.
Correct.
Now, can you kind of patch things together and make things work? 100%. But if you can get in maybe the best look, and maybe you're not 100% at it, but you're 85, 90% efficient at it, and it gets them off of their primary game plan, and it gets you back to your base defense, I think that's where we try to get to is, all right, can we get you on plan C, D, and E, and then get back to what we want to do? And what we want to do is really good versus what your backup plan is. So trying to get them off of that main thing is really our goal. But I've messed up so much trying to get here. And this is by no means a finished product, but I work with a lot of really good coaches, and I got players that buy in, and they work their tails off and put in a lot of work. So, man, it's just fun. It's good.
I think that's the beauty of defense in football. It's never a finished product. It doesn't matter if you win them all and you win every game. You'll find something during the offseason.
100%.
We got to work. We were terrible at this,
Yeah.
We went 15-0, won a state title, and we were awful at that, but that's what good coaches do. I think it's failure and learning, and that's what I love about the challenge never stops. But Coach, we end every podcast with the same question.
Yeah.
So here it comes. What's the most, if I could say it, what's the most unique or different thing that your school does that no one else does?
Okay. Well, I'm going to give you something that our football program does that I think is pretty special.
Yeah.
So I'll give you two things. One, we're a Christian school. As a school, I will say this: I'm an alumni. The number one thing our school does that I think is unique, and I think everyone does this, we're big into relationships with our students and with our players. But it's all about, at the end of the day, discipleship. What we believe is, if we're not bringing people to the Lord or pointing people to Jesus, it doesn't matter how many games we win or lose, whatever. Yes, we want to be excellent in those things, but if we're not doing that, we're missing the mark. And I'll tell you, I think the coolest thing we do as a football program, and we started doing this maybe 3 years ago, we call it Spotlight Drill. So what we do at the end of a practice once a week is we take a senior and we make them stand up in front of the team, and our team speaks life into that player, and they tell them the things they appreciate about that player. And man, it's hard. It's like the hardest drill we do, because everybody's uncomfortable. But what's really cool is when you get young guys standing up and talking about how our seniors, came alongside them and, taught them what this program's all about, and really poured into them. And man, I hope in the film you see our guys play hard. And I think part of that playing hard comes from the fact that our guys really love each other, and just they want to play hard for one another. And I think that's part of it, man. It's a cool drill. I was super uncomfortable because I'm not very good at that. But it's been cool to see the impact it's had on some of our guys, and for them to realize, man, I have impact beyond what I thought I did. And when they realize that, then they invest even more. And they're like, oh, I got to be more intentional about how I'm interacting with these young guys. Because we talk a lot about legacy. The day you're done with football doesn't mean your impact's done. Your impact on this program is going to go beyond, the 4 years you were in it. So, man, I think it's special. and I think it's empowering. It's been really, really cool.
I love that. I think that's one of the cooler ones we've heard, Matt. Just
we,
that ability to do that. It's like you said, in schools, I always say this, maybe I'm wrong. I'm probably right. Schools go as the football team goes, culture wise. I really think that. I think that your football team can dictate the culture of your school.
Mm-hmm.
And I truly believe that. I'm sure some people that, they're probably not football coaches, but they listen to this, they probably think I'm full of crap. But man, when your football team is good and they're good people and they pour into the school around them, you get a really, really good culture.
It's a better place.
It is. The stands are better. Everything's better. Those football players show up to volleyball team games and, they raise hell in the right way.
Yes.
And the volleyball players love it. And then they're at a basketball game. I just think that football can dictate a lot of other things. And I'm not diminishing any other sport. I get the importance of all of them, but it's really weird how I think football can have that effect. And I think that drill you're talking about shows them, here's your effect in the program. But like you said, the legacy is you also have an effect throughout the school and this community, everything else. And that's really important. So I love that, Coach. I thought that was a great example.
Yeah, man.
Matt, any other closing words?
No, we used to do that a little bit at Atlantic. Called it filling their cup.
Yeah.
Fill each other's cup. And man, it made it makes for some awkward situations and kids not wanting to talk. But once they start getting complimented and see others getting complimented, it really opens it up to some good conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah. You'd be shocked at the number of, we tell them they have to make eye contact.
Oh, yeah.
Time. Like they have to.
They don't like that.
Dude, you get people looking at the ground. They're like looking for a way out and like, no, you're in it. You can't tap out of this drill. It's on. You're in it. Deal with it.
Love it. Well, Coach, thanks for joining the Board Drill podcast. We appreciate you. And if you're listening out there, if you're still listening, make sure to like and subscribe. And we will see you next week on another episode of the Board Drill podcast.